Is UBank free of political influence? Can UBank help miners come out of their debt sinkhole? How has the recent no work, no pay platinum strike affected the UBank? What relationship does the UBank have with the Employment Bureau of Africa, or TEBA? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Bongi Kwala. UBank, formerly known as TEBA Cash Financial Services, is still reeling from the effects of the 5-month platinum strike. It is estimated that more than 2/3 of the bank's customers are mine workers, and most are members of the largest union in the platinum sector, the Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union, AMCU. The bank was inevitably affected by the strike, and it has since extended an invite to those in debt to visit them and restructure their debts. My guest today in studio is Lutando Vutula, the Chief Executive Officer at UBank. It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you, Bongi, for having me.
All right, let's start by understanding who UBank is and what is it that you do.
Well, Bongi, UBank we are the largest bank in the mining space, as you've already said. Formerly known as TEBA Bank, we rebranded in 2010, and now we are known as UBank, and we still remain, I think, the biggest bank in the mining sector.
Why the mining sector, though?
Well, you know, we've got a very interesting history. UBank was formed in 1975. We branched out of what is called the TEBA, or the Employment Bureau of Africa. And therefore, you know, we have a history in mining, and we used to be the cash or the paymaster for most of the mining houses in the country.
Well, when you started, there weren't too many players in the mining sector, especially insofar as unions are concerned. So inevitably, your members would have been then new members. Is that still the case today?
Well, unfortunately for us, we don't know, you know, the affiliation of our members, because, you know, for any person to open an account with us, we don't ask, you know, are you an AMCU or are you an NUM member? We just see customers.
Seeing customers, but beyond that, what do you see? When they come, when they interact with you, what sense do you get? And do you get the sense also that, you know, the rivalry in the mining sector and in the space of membership really is affecting your relationship with the mine workers?
No, absolutely not. I mean, as I say, you know, when people walk into a branch, we absolutely have no understanding whether they are AMCU or NUM or Solidarity or any other union for that matter. So we just service them as customers, and we offer them our value proposition, you know, which is a value proposition that we offer to them. 39
years of existence. Run us through some of the milestones that you feel really have shaped UBank.
Look, I mean, we've got a very rich history that we are extremely proud of. As I said, you know, we started as a paymaster. So that is, we were the paymaster for most of the mining houses in the country. And we remain, especially in gold and platinum. So that is excellent for us. And the second aspect is that we are definitely servicing a unique clientele. These people are mainly from your rural areas, rural provinces, KZN, Eastern Cape, Northwest, and so forth. But more importantly, you also find some of them from Southern Africa. We've got a lot of people from Lesotho, lots of people from Mozambique and Swaziland. And previously, obviously, as you would know, TEBA used to exist in Malawi, in Botswana, and so forth, even though now the numbers have actually come down. So we've got a very rich and I think an exciting history. That's why we are very optimistic about where the bank is actually going. Previously, as you would understand, a lot of the people were also not educated. We are probably the only bank in the country that still offers a savings book. Precisely because of the clientele that we have. As I said to you, most of them are actually not educated. So they still need, or they still use, rather, a thumbprint to actually identify themselves.
And really that most of them would then be financially illiterate, so to speak, how do you, what else do you offer them except to say, come in and put your money here and put the thumb and get your money out? What else, what kind of financial education do you offer them?
Look, the other advantage that we have as a bank, and precisely because we understand our clientele, is the fact that we service our clients not in their vernacular. Now, that's very, very, very important. Very few banks, I think, in the country now would service you, whether it's in Zulu, Sotho, or Xhosa for that matter. And that is the advantage that we have. So our customers are very comfortable with us, very loyal to us, because we understand them and we service them in their language of choice, which I think is what actually makes them very loyal to us.
From time to time, I mean, the mining sector will be hit by strikes. And when that happens, then it's no work, no pay. How does that then impact on your business?
Well, it does impact us, and I must admit that it will definitely impact us negatively, like the recent strike has, because of the fact that we are big in mining. I mean, as a bank, we are mitigating that by now going into other sectors as well. We are not just looking at mining, we are also looking at education, we're looking at the police, we're looking at clerks, nurses, and so forth, because we need to mitigate the concentration risk that we have in mining.
Do you get a sense that they are warming up to, the other sectors are warming up to Ubank right now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's very important, Bongi, is that in 2007, COSATU took a decision that, in fact, it's a resolution to make Ubank a workers' bank of choice. So we want to pursue that and make sure that we become a real workers' bank of choice for all workers in South Africa.
And the rebranding then of Ubank from being a debt bank, how has that helped you?
No, it has helped us. Again, you know, as I said, we're very proud of our history, but we also understand that certain people would not necessarily want to be associated with miners. That is why we decided that the rebranding will probably invite a teacher or a policeman or a nurse for that matter to walk into our branch, not believing that the bank is only catering just for mine workers.
All right, and I want for us to talk some more really about the 5-month strike in the platinum sector. Don't go away. Luthando Vutula is the Chief Executive Officer of Ubank. Question Time takes a break.
Cultural Village is a large family homestead with 16 huts, each of them with its own specific purpose.
My responsibility, it is taking care of the family. As far as cleanliness is concerned, I have to make sure that I keep the home as clean as possible every morning when I wake up.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News. Coming up this week.
Hi, I'm Dr. Silom Daoud. Join me every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Health Talk when we discuss various health issues. This coming Saturday, please join me when we discuss major depression and bipolar mood disorder. That's every Saturday at 9 a.m. Health Talk.
Welcome back. This is Question Time. My guest today in studio, Luthando Vutula, Chief Executive Officer at Ubank. We were still talking about responsible lending, but it must equally be met by responsible borrowing. You will find that there is irresponsible borrowing. How do you deal with that then?
Bongi, it's important to understand that, both the borrower and the person who actually lends the money have a responsibility. Our responsibility is to make sure that when you come and ask for a loan, we make sure that you can afford that loan. How do we make sure that you can afford? We need to understand, firstly, how much you earn. Two, who else do you own? Who else do you owe? And we must check that, because you will tell us, but also we must also do our own independent verification. That is why the NCR is so stringent on how we actually ensure that there is a responsible lending. And we need to do our end of the stick, and that end of the stick is to make sure that we understand who else you own, so that when we give you that money, we can make sure that you can't only just afford our debt, but also where you've also borrowed money from, you can also afford that debt as well.
And you're not the only ones operating in that space. I mean, there are many other banks that do exactly what you're doing. And how do you then remain relevant and have this brand loyalty with the mine workers who keep on coming back and saying, this is our bank?
Yeah, and that's important, and that's what excites us, because as I've said to you, the mine workers identify with us. One, they identify with us because we are able to speak in their vernacular. It doesn't matter where in South Africa you're coming from. You walk into a Ubank branch, they will speak your language. Two, it requires patience, because as I've said to you before, a lot of these people are uneducated. Therefore, that's why they want the savings book. For example, it's a tall order to convince somebody to move from a savings book to a card, because after they've withdrawn money, they want to look at the savings book to say, I've withdrawn 50 Rand and 100 Rand is there. So that when they go to the bank, they've got their book and they can show the teller, I've still have got 100 Rand. But with the card and with the amount of fraud that happens, and especially people in the rural areas, they are not very comfortable with the card. So for us, it's important that we understand the needs of our customers and we are able to meet them.
There is this whole movement now that is being introduced by government right now. For instance, the conversion of the post offices, the postal services, to be key points where there is also service delivery there, where people do not just go in for money, but for other things as well, including as pension payout points. Are you going to be playing in that space?
We definitely want to play in that space. I mean, there's no question about us having discussions, because the reality is that there is nobody in the country that has a distribution network like the post office. It's second to none. So they've got an excellent distribution network, and I think it would be irresponsible of us not to talk to the post office and see how we can leverage off their network, and maybe there might be things that they might be wanting to look at in Ubank. And the reality is we look at the same clientele.
Have you started talking to the post office?
Well, we have spoken to them, but nothing, that we've finalized, and we're going to continue to talk to them. There's no question about that. Because I think it's important that between us and the post office, we can see where the synergies are, because we, from a Ubank perspective, definitely see them. And because there's no need, I don't think it makes sense in South Africa to have Ubank and Postbank competing.
Sure.
Because it's for the same target market. Instead, we should be complementing each other and service this market even better.
Where do we find you? Where are your offices? When you walk around, you see the big four that you normally see. You will struggle to see Ubank in a mall, for instance, perhaps because of your target audience, but also in a small shopping center in Kokstad, in Matatiele, and all those areas. You'll struggle to find Ubank. Where do you operate from?
It's important to say that in the Eastern Cape, in most of the towns we are represented. In the Northwest, you will find us. Also, it's important that we've got a great relationship with the Teba Limited. A lot of their agencies actually service our customers. So if you go to Mozambique, Lesotho, Swaziland, you might not necessarily find a Ubank, but you'll find a Teba Limited agency, and that's where we actually service our customers. As I said to you, we are intending to grow the bank. We are intending to grow the distribution network. And so we are currently in the process of raising funding to be able actually to have more branches. I think, Bongi, very important, our intent is not to fight the big four. They're big. They do what they do and they do it well. We believe that if we service the market that we are servicing and we do it well, there's enough space for all of us.
The mine workers also have dreams. They would like to own property, for instance. They would like to own cars. What's your role there?
Exactly. And that is why, if you look at our strategy, it talks exactly to that. A mine worker wants to have a credit card. They want to have a car. They want to own a house. And the ownership of the house does not necessarily have to be in town. How do we assist not just mine workers, but a teacher, a policeman who comes from a rural village, whether it's in Venda or it's in the Transkei, where the land, there's no ownership, but it's permission to occupy, for example. And we are able, as a bank, to assist them to build their dream house. And that's what we are doing, and that's what, in fact, we will continue to do.
All right, let's go back now to quickly to the packages that you are offering these mine workers. I know we touched on this earlier on, but really, what kind of packages, except for them coming forth and saying, I'm struggling, you know I've been on strike for 5 months, but what else are you offering them so that they are able to leave?
Well, financial planning is important. So amongst other things that we are going to be doing here is, people have gone through a very traumatic period. Let's not make no mistake. I don't want us to underestimate the 5-month strike. Unprecedented, never happened. If people don't get paid for 2 months, it's a disaster. 5 months, it's catastrophic. So I think it's important, therefore, to say you don't just offer financial planning. You might find that other people are traumatized by this thing. And us as a bank, how do we then assist them, to go through this, tragedy that they've just experienced in the last 5 months.
And those that are not coming back into the system right now decided the 5-month strike was too much for me. I might as well go and look after my head of cattle at home. And they owe you money. Are you going to write that off? Are you going to attempt to get that money?
No, we will have to attempt to get to those people. And fortunately, as I've said to you, most of the mine workers in the country, and especially in the gold and platinum, Teba Limited has got some form of knowledge where they come from, who they are. So working with them, I think it will be important to trace these people, because some of them will say, look, I've got a head of cattle, or I'm going to start a business. And we must make arrangements to say, yes, we understand that you've gone through this thing, but how do we make arrangements to repay the loan?
All right. We hope to see you in the public sector space shortly. Luthando Vutula, thank you very much for joining us. He is the Chief Executive Officer at Ubank, and that was Question Time for today. A big thank you to our guest and to you for watching the show. We welcome your feedback via email on questiontime@sabc.co.za, or you can tweet us. Our Twitter handle is @questiontime24. From me and the rest of the crew, have yourself a wonderful time and goodbye.